Watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi leaves for Brunei. It is the first ever bilateral visit to the Southeast Asian country by an Indian Prime Minister. Russia's President Vladimir Putin visits Mongolia on his first visit to an International Criminal Court member since it issued a warrant for his arrest last year. At least 129 killed while trying to escape from a prison in the Democratic Republic of the Congo's capital, Kinshasa. And in sport, India continues to shine at the Paris Paralympics. Sumit Antil adds a third gold to India's kitty, creating a new Paralympics record. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi left New Delhi for Brunei as part of his two-nation tour of Southeast Asia. He expressed confidence that his visit to Brunei and Singapore will further strengthen India's partnership with the two countries and the larger ASEAN region. In his departure statement, he said he is embarking on a first-ever bilateral visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Brunei Darussalam. As India and Brunei celebrate 40 years of diplomatic relations, he is looking forward to his meetings with Sultan Haji Hassan Al Bolkiah and members of the royal family. The Prime Minister said that he will travel onwards to Singapore on Wednesday. He looked forward to the opportunity to meet President Tharman Shanmugaratnam, Prime Minister Lawrence Wong, Senior Minister Lee Hsien Loong and Emeritus Senior Minister Goh Chok Tong. The Prime Minister will also meet with the leaders of Singapore's vibrant business community. The Prime Minister said that he was looking forward to discussions to deepen the strategic partnership with Singapore, particularly in new and emerging areas of advanced manufacturing, digitalization and sustainable development. Brunei has a 14,000-strong Indian diaspora which is eager to welcome Prime Minister Modi and host him on the maiden bilateral visit to that country by an Indian Prime Minister. Murmu Bhattacharya has more.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to arrive in Brunei Darussalam on a two-day visit on the 3rd and 4th of September, and members of the Indian diaspora as well as representatives of various Indian associations here are very excited ahead of the Prime Minister's visit. Let's talk to them about what they feel about the visit. How excited are you, sir?
We are too excited to receive Mr. Prime Minister, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. We are eagerly waiting for his landing in Brunei tomorrow. We are counting the hours by minutes now, and maybe tomorrow morning seconds.
I'm looking forward to his visit, and it has spread a more Indianness. Though it was there, it is more Indianness here, and we are more than excited.
We are truly blessed to welcome our Modi ji, and it's my lifetime pride going to be get it tomorrow.
Every leader must learn from Modi ji that how much energy is he having. Sincere leader, sincerity, everyone must learn from him. He has not actually accumulated anything, only the country peoples.
The Indian community is extremely excited ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's arrival in Brunei Darussalam. They're looking forward to getting a glimpse of him as soon as he arrives here. With cameraman Ankit, this is Murmu Bhattacharya from Brunei Darussalam for DD India.
So as India's Prime Minister Mr. Modi is all set to visit the city of Bandar Seri Begawan, take a look at what makes it so special. Murmu Bhattacharya reports.
The capital and largest city of Brunei Darussalam is Bandar Seri Begawan. The city is a financial and administrative centre and is known for a river port called Muara Port.
Bandar Seri Begawan's landmarks include the gold-domed Sultan Omar Ali Saifuddin Mosque, which is among the largest mosques in Southeast Asia. Istana Nurul Iman, the 1,788-room royal palace, and the Hassanal Bolkiah National Stadium. Alongside the modern city is an older settlement called Kampong Ayer or Water Village. Here, people live in houses raised on stilts along inlets of the river. A network of raised wooden walkways connects the houses. A water village probably existed in this region as early as the 600s. The modern city became the capital of Brunei in 1920, and until 1970, it was called Brunei Town.
Bandar Seri Begawan was once predominantly an agricultural trade centre and a river port. But it suffered extensive damage during the Second World War, after which it was largely rebuilt and became the country's financial and administrative centre with a port at the mouth of River Muara. With cameraman Kumar Datta, this is Murmu Bhattacharya from Bandar Seri Begawan for DD India.
On his visit to Brunei, Prime Minister Modi will inaugurate the new chancery building in the presence of the members of the Indian diaspora and the Indian diplomatic community. Murmu Bhattacharya has more.
When Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives here in Brunei Darussalam, on the very first day of his visit, he will be coming here. This is the new Chancery building of the Indian High Commission. He will be inaugurating this building in the presence of the Indian diplomatic community and members of the Indian diaspora. And after the inauguration, the Indian High Commission will start functioning from here.
Located in the diplomatic area of Brunei, in the vicinity of embassies and high commissions of other countries, India's new Chancery building at Bandar Seri Begawan is a mix of tradition and modernity. It took 3 to 4 years for its construction work to be completed. Architecturally, it is one of the finest Indian high commissions or embassies the world over. It has traditional Indian motifs, extensive lattice work on windows and the exterior. Wall clearings are done with Kota stone in pink and deep maroon. There is a central courtyard water body and a multi-purpose hall with a capacity of 300 people. The decor for the inauguration ceremony is inspired by Indian culture and colors of the Indian tricolour.
The whole decor is conceptualized from the Indianness that we all have deep inside our souls. We have the national flower, the lotus, the national bird, that is the peacock, and we have conceptualized our decor around the uruli, which is a communal vessel that is used for cooking in Kerala. And here in Brunei, it is all about the Indian community and how the community come together when an event happens. And now we have Modi ji coming to Brunei, and that is our communal activity that we are going to give to the High Commission of India for the visit of our Prime Minister Modi.
Indian High Commissioner to Brunei Darussalam expressed his sentiments ahead of inaugural day.
Today is that occasion that from the ancient and the medieval to the modern and the post-colonial, we have an opportunity based and premised on the foundations of a very strong Indian diaspora here, which I spoke of, to make a new beginning. It is emblematic of our relations and its possibilities in future that the Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi ji, with his first bilateral visit here will consolidate and foster new bonds and new strengths, impart new strengths to these relations, these threads.
The Indian High Commission in Bandar Seri Begawan is thus all set to enter its new spacious and modern-looking home. With cameraman Kumar Datta, this is Murmu Bhattacharya from Bandar Seri Begawan for DD India.
And Murmu Bhattacharya now joins us from Bandar Seri Begawan. Murmu, walk our viewers through the Prime Minister's engagements, his schedule and meetings there.
Absolutely. In some time from now, we expect Prime Minister Narendra Modi to arrive in Brunei Darussalam. And on my left, you can see a lot of people who are members of the Indian community who are waiting to welcome the Prime Minister. And they are waiting with bated breath. I could hear chants of Modi, Modi a short while back. It's a very vibrant Indian community here. And talking of the engagements, like you said, on day one, after the Prime Minister arrives, there is expected to be a brief interaction with these members of the Indian diaspora. And after that, that will be followed by his visit to the new Chancery building from where the Indian High Commission will be functioning, because There'll be the inauguration of the new chancery building by the Prime Minister, and after which, like I said, the Indian High Commission will be functioning from there. There too, there will be a meet and greet we expect with members of the Indian community. After that, the Prime Minister will head to the Omar Ali Saifuddin Mosque, which has been built by the father of the current Sultan, Sultan Haji Hassan al-Bolkiah, and has been named after him. It's been inspired by Indian Mughal architecture, particularly by the Taj Mahal. So there too, there will be a meet and greet with members of the Indian community. So that's about day one of the engagements. On day two, there will be bilateral talks between the leadership of both countries, and there will be delegation level talks. A banquet lunch will be hosted by His Majesty. So there will be an audience with His Majesty and members of the royal family. And we expect a couple of MOUs to be signed between both the sides.
All right, we'll leave it there, Murmu, for now, but we'll keep coming back to you for more as we go along. Thank you. Appreciate it. Right, moving on, India's President Draupadi Murmu participated in the 21st convocation ceremony of Symbiosis International University on Tuesday. While addressing the students, she appreciated the university's efforts towards inclusive development with an emphasis on gender equality, noting that 8 of the 11 gold medalists were girls. She also stressed the need to encourage research in the education system.
मुझे ये देखकर बहुत खुशी हो रही है कि स्वर्ण पदक पाने वाले 11 विद्यार्थियों में से 8 छात्राएं हैं। इनमें से 2 बेटियां हमारे पड़ोसी देश नेपाल से भी है। मैं सभी बेटियों को हार्दिक बधाई देती हूँ। आज हमारे बहनें और बेटियां हर क्षेत्रों में आगे बढ़ रही है। नारी शक्ति का विकास देशवासियों के लिए गर्व की बात है। ये देश के विकास का एक महत्वपूर्ण मापदंड भी है। मैं चाहती हूं कि आप लोग देश के विभिन्न समुदायों और क्षेत्र की संस्कृति और उनकी आज की ज़रूरतों को समझें। इस जानकारी के आधार पर आप ऐसे सॉफ्टवेयर, हेल्थ केयर प्रोडक्ट और मार्केटिंग स्ट्रेटेजीज बनाएं जो सबके, विशेषकर वंचित वर्गों के लोगों के विकास में सहायक हो।
Russia's President Vladimir Putin held talks with his Mongolian counterpart in Ulaanbaatar on Tuesday. Now, earlier, the President of Russia received a grand welcome at a ceremony featuring a guard of honor on his arrival in the East Asian country. The two leaders discussed prospects for further developing the Russia-Mongolia Comprehensive Strategic Partnership and exchanged views on international and regional issues. Furthermore, Putin highlighted relations with Mongolia as Russia's priorities in Asia.
The relations with Mongolia are among the priorities of our foreign policy in Asia. They have been brought to a high level of comprehensive strategic partnership.
President Putin will also take part in events to commemorate the 85th anniversary of the Battle of Khalkhin Gol, where Soviet and Mongolian troops defeated the Japanese army. At least 2 people were killed in Russian strike on Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia. The strike comes ahead of the International Atomic Energy Agency's chief's visit to the region. According to Ukrainian authorities, the past day saw 313 attacks and instances of shelling on 11 settlements, damaging several buildings in Zaporizhzhia. The Ukrainian Air Force said it shot down 27 out of 35 drones during Russia's overnight attack. Meanwhile, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky will meet the head of the IAEA in Kyiv after his visit to the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. In a post on social media X, the UN nuclear watchdog's chief Rafael Grossi said he is visiting the nuclear power plant and will continue to assist and help prevent a nuclear accident. Earlier, Zelensky said it is not possible for Ukraine to take back control of the plant. At least 129 people were killed while trying to escape from the central Makala prison in the capital of the Democratic Republic of the Congo on Monday. The government, in a statement on microblogging site X, said that as per the country's interior minister, A fire had broken out in the prison, causing injuries to at least 59 people. An investigation is on. Earlier, a prison official said that no prisoners had succeeded in escaping, adding that those who tried to escape had been killed. Still to come on DD India News Hour. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu asked for forgiveness for not saving hostages from Gaza. Brazil's top court upholds a ban on microblogging social media platform X. And US presidential candidate Kamala Harris makes a pitch to working-class voters.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. To West Asia now, where in Israel, street protests over Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's handling of ceasefire negotiations entered a second night. Demonstrations, which included a nationwide strike, started after Israeli forces found bodies of 6 hostages in a Gaza tunnel. The protesters are demanding a ceasefire deal with Hamas and release of hostages. At least 101 people are still being held captive by Hamas in Gaza. And Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has asked for forgiveness from Israelis for failing to return the hostages. He said that Israeli troops must control Gaza's Philadelphia corridor, saying that it was vital for the country to control a key lifeline for Hamas. Located along the border, Gaza Strip and Egypt, the strategically important land has been a sticking point in negotiations with Hamas.
The pressure internationally must be directed at these killers, at Hamas, not at Israel. We say yes, they say no all the time, but they also murdered these people. And now we need maximum pressure on Hamas. I don't believe that either President Biden or anyone serious about achieving peace and achieving the release would seriously ask Israel to make these concessions. We've already made them. Hamas has to make the concession.
Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden has said that Netanyahu was not doing enough to secure a hostage deal and ceasefire with Hamas. Biden, however, added that he was still in the middle of negotiations for the deal amid reports suggesting a new proposal would be sent to the Israeli Prime Minister as final.
We're still in negotiation, not with him, with my colleagues from Qatar and from Egypt.
Hamas said it has laid out instructions on how to handle hostages if Israeli forces approach their locations in Gaza. Hamas's armed wing said that the group was operating under new instructions since June, adding that hostages would return to Israel inside coffins if military pressure continued. Israel has slammed the UK's decision to suspend some arms sales to the country as shameful. In a series of posts on X, the Israeli Prime Minister's office said the UK decision will not change Israel's determination to defeat the Hamas, a genocidal terrorist organization that savagely murdered 1,200 people. The UK suspended 30 of its 350 arms export licenses with Israel, citing a risk of equipment being used to violate international law. Items that will come under the suspension include components for military aircraft, including fighter jets, helicopters, and drones.
This is not an arms embargo. It targets around 30, approximately 350 licenses to Israel in total for items which could be used in the current conflict in Gaza. The rest will continue.
And Israel has condemned the UK move, saying that it will send problematic message to Hamas and its Iranian backers. Foreign Minister Israel Katz said in a statement that Israel was disappointed by a series of decisions made by the British government, including the decision regarding defense exports. Moving on, in other news, Democratic candidate Kamala Harris made her pitch to working-class voters in Pennsylvania on Monday. It was the first time both Democrats campaigned together after she replaced him as candidate and revived Democratic election hopes. Seeking to attract voters in the key battleground state of Pennsylvania, the pair met union members in Pittsburgh before standing side by side to speak to about 600 supporters. The event on Labor Day, a U.S. holiday, signifies the start of the post-summer sprint to the November 5 election. Trump stayed off the campaign trail on Monday while Harris held events in Detroit and Pittsburgh, where she used her remarks to underscore support for steel workers.
But as we fight to move forward, Donald Trump is trying to pull us backward, including back to a time before workers had the freedom to organize.
He's going to jail!
Well, the courts will handle that, and we will handle November. How about that? We'll handle November. Let the courts handle that other thing. But we're not going back.
At a packed Union Hall in Pittsburgh, Biden attacked Trump over jobs and pensions.
Folks, we made a lot of progress, and Kamala and I are going to build on that progress, and she's going to build on it. I'll be on the sidelines, but I'll do everything I can to help. But look, I'm not joking when I say, this is not a joke. When I said this when I was running in 2020, a lot of people didn't believe me. You did, but didn't believe me. It's all at risk because of Donald Trump, literally. With a stroke of the pen, he can get rid of a lot of this. And do you think this guy gives a damn about your pensions? No, I'm serious. Do you think he loses even an instant of sleep over it? Do you think he cares about all the work you do every day and how hard it is? Do you think he cares about good paying jobs for hard-working people who built this economy? Hell.
To South America now, where Venezuela's Attorney General's office on Monday issued an arrest warrant for the opposition's former presidential candidate, Edmundo Gonzalez. The warrant was issued at the request of authorities after Gonzalez failed to respond to 3 summons to testify about an opposition website which published detailed results of the country's disputed presidential election. The website is being investigated for usurping the function of the Electoral Authority, which says President Nicolas Maduro won the 28th July contest but has not published detailed results. Venezuela's National Electoral Authority and its top court have said Maduro was the victor of the election with just over half of the votes, but tallies posted by the opposition show a resounding victory for Gonzalez. Members of a Bolivian social movement known as the Red Ponchos walked into La Paz to express their discontent over the stalled country's economy, resulting in scuffling with the police on Monday. The protesters set a dumpster on fire, threw objects against the police guarding the Farmers' Union headquarters, while police shot tear gas canisters and rubber bullets against protesters. The group attempted to recover the union headquarters, which is in the hands of a bloc that supports the government. The clashes left 7 officers and 2 civilians wounded, the government said. Brazil's Supreme Court has upheld a ban on microblogging social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter. The judges voted unanimously on Monday in favor of the measure, meaning the ban will stay in place. X was suspended in Brazil on Saturday after it failed to appoint a new legal representative in the country before a court-imposed deadline. Last week, Justice Moraes ruled the suspension of the platform for not naming a local legal representative as required by law and a prior court order that set a deadline for compliance. However, the suspension could be reversed if the platform complied with previous rulings. Pope Francis has arrived in Indonesia for the first leg of his Asia-Pacific tour. The pontiff will address Indonesia's political leaders on Wednesday. The country's President Joko Widodo has called the visit historic. Indonesia has the largest Muslim population in the world. About 3% of its population is Catholic. The Pope will also visit East Timor, Singapore and Papua New Guinea over the next 10 days. Thailand's Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra announced to sign the finalized list of cabinet ministers before submitting it for royal endorsement on Tuesday with no surprises expected. Shinawatra said to have a completed cabinet lineup for her government, claiming to build a very good team. She has asked the government to start working immediately, with digital wallet policy remaining the core focus, with some adjustments to the implementation. Sri Lanka Podujana Peramona presidential candidate Namal Rajapaksa unveiled his election manifesto titled Namal Dekma at an event in Colombo on Monday. Touted as the key candidates in the race, incumbent President Ranil Wickremesinghe, SJP candidate Sajith Premadasa and NPP's Anura Kumara Dissanayaka unveiled their manifestos last week, listing out their policies and roadmap. With the death of one candidate, 38 persons are now in the fray. The election is scheduled to be held on 21st September to elect the 9th executive president of the country. Right now, take a look at what else is making news around the world. Hong Kong's landmark national security trial was presented with the last batch of 45 Hong Kong activists for light sentences over charges that they had formed a conspiracy to subvert the state power. The court said on Tuesday that they would be sentenced at a later date that is yet to be decided. The offence carries up to life in jail under a sweeping national security law. Wild weather conditions battered Australia's southeast with downed trees, bulging rivers and damaged buildings. One woman died, schools were shuttered and tens of thousands of people were left without power on Monday following the storms. Peru's Air Force responded to a call for firefighting held from Ecuador, which requested air assistance to control the fire in Huilanga. It's burning since a week, with fire consuming more than 4,800 hectares, forcing evacuations of some inhabitants. The Peruvian armed forces have responded with a total of 50,000 gallons of water sprayed over the fire area. Still to come on DD India News Hour. A discussion on India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Brunei. Rescue and relief operations intensify as the Indian states of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana scramble to tackle floods. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. A quick recap of the headlines. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi leaves for Brunei. It is the first ever bilateral visit to the Southeast Asian country by an Indian Prime Minister. Russia's President Vladimir Putin visits Mongolia on his first visit to an International Criminal Court member since it issued a warrant for his arrest last year. And at least 129 killed while trying to escape from a prison in the Democratic Republic of the Congo's capital, Kinshasa. Right, going back to the top story, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Brunei. Murmu reports from Brunei's capital, Bandar Seri Begawan, on what to expect from this visit.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be visiting Brunei Darussalam, a tiny state situated on the northern coast of the island of Borneo along the South China Sea, starting Tuesday. This visit is going to be significant because it's going to be the first ever bilateral visit of an Indian Prime Minister to Brunei Darussalam.
The relationship between India and Brunei has steadily evolved, with defence cooperation being a key component. The exchange of naval visits and the participation of Bruneian nationals in various capacity building courses in India underscore the growing defence and educational ties between the two countries. Trade relationship is important, especially in the context of India's energy security, because every year India imports crude oil worth $500 to $600 million from Brunei Darussalam, which is rich in oil and gas reserves. Both sides also cooperate in space and health sectors and promote people-to-people exchanges. The presence of a vibrant Indian diaspora in Brunei, particularly in the oil and gas industries, construction and healthcare sectors, further strengthens the bilateral relationship. Ties between the two countries are important even from a regional perspective. Brunei Darussalam was the country coordinator for India in ASEAN for 3 years, from July 2012 to June 2015, and played an important role in bringing India closer to ASEAN.
As India continues to implement its Act East policy, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Brunei Darussalam is expected to reinforce India's strategic footprint in the Southeast Asian region, fostering greater cooperation in key sectors and also paving the way for a more integrated and prosperous Indo-Pacific region. With cameraman Kumar Datta, this is Munman Bhattacharya from Brunei Darussalam for DD India.
All right, joining us momentarily would be Professor Harsh Pant to inform you, the viewer, about the ongoing visit of India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Brunei. He'll be joining us in a moment, but let's get you some more details about India-Brunei relations at this point in time while we wait for the guest to join us. Prime Minister Modi's visit is, as we've been reporting, the first bilateral visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Brunei. It's on the occasion of 40 years of diplomatic ties between the two countries. All right, joining us at this moment is Professor Harsh Pant. Professor Pant, welcome to DD India News Hour. Professor Pant is Vice President Studies and Foreign Policy at Observer Research Foundation. The ORF is a privately held think tank headquartered in New Delhi. Professor Pant, for the benefit of viewers joining us from around the world, what can you tell us about Brunei in terms of its history, geography, politics, economy and people?
Ramesh, this is, Brunei has been or continues to be a very, very important part of the Southeast Asian landscape for India. And as India has managed to look at Southeast Asia through first an economic and then through a strategic prism, Brunei has emerged also as a very important anchor in the kind of imagination that India has for the region and beyond the region, of course, for the wider Indo-Pacific. And I think what we are now looking, when we look at Brunei, today, when we look at this being the first bilateral visit by an Indian Prime Minister, it also underscores how far the relationship has traveled from being, one of the smaller countries in the Southeast Asian landscape to Brunei emerging as an independent actor in the Southeast Asian landscape, both in terms of what it is doing with its economy, in terms of the role that it is playing as an autonomous player, and also increasingly looking for India as a defense partner. So the relationship now spans the entire gamut, from a relationship that started off for India, India-Brunei relationship that started off primarily being a relationship with another of Southeast Asian countries, to today Brunei being a very pivotal country in the region, which both strategically and economically is becoming very, very important. And we are also celebrating, of course, 40 years of our diplomatic ties. So it is very pertinent that Prime Minister goes there at this very important juncture.
Indeed. Now that you've given our viewers an overview, Professor Pant, I want to delve into certain specifics. To begin with, how does Brunei fit into India's relations with Southeast Asia as a whole? In other words, where does India see Brunei insofar as its Act East policy and vision of the Indo-Pacific are concerned?
So as you know, Ramesh, we have, from India's perspective, we have looked at Southeast Asia as a very, very critical player in our Indo-Pacific imagination. As this idea of Indian Ocean and Pacific Oceans being one contiguous maritime zone has become the central feature of international relations, India's engagement with Southeast Asia has grown through that lens. India's relations, of course, with Southeast Asia has been very traditional, historic, civilizational, but in the contemporary context, in the strategic context, Southeast Asia, ASEAN, for example, is central to India's Indo-Pacific policy, ASEAN centrality, as we call it, in our foreign policy. So ASEAN centrality is critical in that regard. And if you look at what is happening within ASEAN, ASEAN is under pressure from multiple vantage points. ASEAN is facing the pressure of US-China geopolitical contestation. ASEAN is facing the pressure of slowing down of global economy. ASEAN is facing the pressure of divisions within ASEAN members themselves on issues, say the maritime disputes and South China Sea dispute. So I think at this point, individual states in Southeast Asia are looking at multiple partnerships like the one Brunei is forging with India. It is not simply a partnership through ASEAN. It is also a standalone partnership that Brunei is now looking at India through, and India is reciprocating because India has enormous stakes in the way Brunei shapes up and in the way ASEAN shapes up.
Indeed, as you say, Professor Pant, India-Brunei ties have a logic of their own. They stand, on their own legs, so to speak. In that context, is there scope for doing more on the bilateral front, be it in terms of trade, investment, security perhaps?
Absolutely, and I think that's where this visit will play such an important role, because traditionally our prism had been through ASEAN. The ASEAN lens was used to engage Brunei, and I think time has now come to also look at Brunei, as you mentioned, through its own lens, through the lens of Brunei being such a critical player, a Brunei where the economy is doing relatively well, and a Brunei that is increasingly willing to take independent stance on issues. This is not the Brunei of the past. This is a Brunei that is increasingly venturing into defense ties with India. So I think we have started off primarily looking at Brunei through an economic lens. We have now moved to the defense space where we are doing a lot of activity together. And I think this visit will further take this relationship into areas like social sector, like health, like space and critical technologies, and of course, enhancing people-to-people engagement so that Brunei and India's relationship can become even more significant as India looks at India-ASEAN relationship and tries to build on some of these independent relationships, of course, as part of the wider ASEAN framework, but also bilateral frameworks. So as I think what this visit will signify is that the first 40 years of India-Brunei relationship have laid the foundations of a very independent relationship, and the next 40 years perhaps will lay the foundations of an emerging strategic partnership increasingly in those sectors where we have not really ventured so far. And I think the template that India will be following is where Prime Minister goes from Brunei, which is Singapore, which is again something that is going to be critical.
I'll come to Singapore if time permits, Professor Pant, but talking a bit more at length on India-Brunei ties. As you mentioned, we've spoken about the 4 decades of diplomatic ties. Now, India and Brunei, as you mentioned, are celebrating 40 years of diplomatic relations. Why do you think it's taken us so long for an Indian Prime Minister to make a bilateral visit to Brunei?
Well, I think it's unfortunate. And I think partly it is, Ramesh, because as I was mentioning, our whole focus had been to look at Southeast Asia through the ASEAN lens. We have been very, very focused on investing in ASEAN as a central pillar of our Act East policy, of our first Look East and then Act East policy. And ASEAN members collectively have been a very important partner. Where I think today we are looking at India's relationship diversifying in the region. If you just look at the last few weeks, what we have seen is a visit by the Vietnamese leaders, a visit by the Malaysian Prime Minister. We have seen the visits, now the Prime Minister visiting Singapore and Brunei. There is a disaggregation happening in our approach to the Southeast Asia, which is, I think, a good thing, a very welcome step. And perhaps the most significant development will be this visit to Brunei, because Brunei had been one country where, despite being part of ASEAN and despite India having an overall very friendly relationship with most ASEAN member states, Brunei had been kept aside. We had not really invested in as much as I think was needed. And now, as countries like Brunei are looking at getting out of this US-China contestation, they have, of course, good partnership with the US, good partnership with China. But I think they are looking for countries like India to give them that leverage, which can also take them forward in terms of their engagement with these two big players. And India fits the bill. India is not camp follower of any country. India follows a strategic autonomy. And I think that's where Brunei, a country like Brunei, is very interested in looking at India, both as an economic partner, as a strategic partner, and also a partner that can help alleviate some of the concerns that some of the member countries of ASEAN are facing, as ASEAN itself becomes a relatively weak and a divided organization. So I think the prospects are very bright, and Prime Minister, by choosing Brunei, is also signaling that we will continue to invest in ASEAN, but we will also invest doubly on individual members, which continue to retain their own relevance in the larger scheme of things as ASEAN becomes so critical to the wider Indo-Pacific debate.
All right. Professor Pant, thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts and insights with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated. Right, moving on for now. Unprecedented rainfall and floods in the Indian states of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh over the past 3 days have battered lives. Rescue and relief operations have been intensified as agencies work to manage the situation, and the chief ministers of the two states stepped up efforts to tackle the situation. The India Meteorological Department has predicted more rainfall in some parts of both the states on Tuesday. In Telangana, incessant rainfall caused inundation of low-lying areas, damaging agricultural crop and disrupting the state's rail and road links with neighboring Andhra Pradesh. The Revant Reddy government in Telangana has put the damage at 5,000 crore rupees as per preliminary estimates and sought an immediate assistance of 2,000 crore rupees from the Indian government. And now take a look at what else is making news in India. Amid a financial crunch, the North Indian state of Himachal Pradesh announced salary deferments to state's ministers and higher officials. The state's poor fiscal health is attributed to heavy borrowings, rising salary and pension budgets, reduced central aid and inadequate revenue generation. India's coal production has reached 384.08 million tons by August 2024, reflecting a growth of 6.4%. The Ministry of Coal says that the growth highlights the sector's enhanced logistical capabilities. Preparations are underway for Ganesh Chaturthi festival across India. In eastern India's Chhattisgarh state, a 12-foot-high Lord Ganesh idol is being made from scrap of goods train for the 10-day-long festival. Still to come on DD India News Hour. The World Bank raises India growth forecast to 7% for FY25. And Iga Swiatek and Daniel Medvedev to play quarterfinal rounds today. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. In business news, the Indian economy continues to grow at a healthy pace despite challenging global conditions. The World Bank on Tuesday raised its Indian economic growth forecast to 7% for the current fiscal, helped by government spending on infrastructure. Earlier, it was estimated at 6.6% and the medium-term economic growth expected at 6.7% over the next 2 fiscal years. Growth forecast to reach 7% in FY 24-25. Growth to remain strong in FY 25-26 and 26-27 as well. India's central bank, RBI, expects growth of 7.2% in FY 25. The debt to GDP ratio projected to decline from 83.9% in FY 23-24 to 82% by FY 26-27. Current account deficit is expected to remain at around 1 to 1.6% of GDP up to FY 26-27. World Bank expects private investment to aid consumption recovery. Logistics and infrastructure growth need to go hand in hand to bring down costs and also be competitive. India's topographic challenges make tunnels viable with less land available to growth. The second edition of Tunnelling India saw a knowledge report on advancing tunnelling in India, challenges, priorities and potential solutions in the sector. More in the next report.
Modern infrastructure cannot function without tunnels, which offer vital routes that improve connection and make it easier to move efficiently over difficult terrain like mountains and border regions. The constraints of space has pushed us to look at tunneling as the option for growth. This could also help in bringing down logistical cost, which helps us to be competitive.
कि हमारे देश में अगर हमको एक्सपोर्ट को बढ़ाना है तो लॉजिस्टिक कॉस्ट को कम करना होगा. हमारी जो लॉजिस्टिक कॉस्ट है वो 14 से 16% तक जाती है. चाइना में 8 से 10% है और अमेरिका और यूरोपियन कंट्रीज में 12% है. अगर हमने हमारे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में अच्छे रोड बनाए और फ्यूल में भी अगर हमने अल्टरनेटिव फ्यूल और बायो फ्यूल पर जाएंगे तो मुझे लगता है कि हम सिंगल डिजिट पे आ जाएंगे.
The sector is well positioned to improve connectivity, reduce travel times and spur economic growth throughout the country. There is an urgent need to provide dependable connection and opening up new trade routes, especially during difficult times, and they are essential in promoting economic progress.
The opportunities for tunnels are in India are limitless. We collectively need to hone our skills. Tunnels, as all of you know, have so many seminal advantages of providing all-weather connectivity, reducing distances, ensuring that we are able to get through geologically fragile and climatically challenged areas.
Innovations is going to be the key in helping India's growth. A knowledge report on advancing tunneling in India was also released during the event. Anil Thomas, DD India, New Delhi.
And now to all the news from the world of sport with my colleague Deepika. Deepika, take it away.
Thanks and good afternoon. Let's begin with all the latest action from the world of Paris Paralympics 2024. So day 5 of Paris Paralympics ended on a high note for India, with Indian athletes winning 8 medals. With this, India now stands at 15th position on the medals tally with 3 golds, 5 silver and 7 bronze. Indian President Draupadi Murmu congratulated the para contingent for the exceptional feat on day 5. She said, and I quote, "I convey my heartiest congratulations to the young Nityasree on adding to the celebrations with her bronze medal in women's singles badminton event, India's 5th badminton medal on the same day. She's won a medal in her debut Paralympics with her talent, hard work and dedication. My best wishes to her for a very bright future." Unquote. So Indian para contingent was on a roll on Monday as India bagged 8 number of medals in a single day at Paris Paralympics. Nityasree Sivan bagged the bronze medal in badminton in SH6 category after beating Indonesia's Rina Marlina by 21-14 and 21-6. The SH6 category is for the athletes who have a short stature and can compete while standing. Nitya currently holds the world #1 rank in women's singles SH6 category. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulated the player on social media platform for her special achievement. He said, and I quote him, "Congratulations to Nityashree Sivan on winning the bronze medal in women's singles badminton SH6 event at the Paralympics 2024. Her feat has inspired countless people and highlights her passion as well as dedication to the game." Unquote. Now, India's Sumit Antil also bagged second consecutive gold at Paralympics, creating a new Paralympics record at Paris. Sumit, who comes from Haryana's Sonipat, initially wanted to be a wrestler, but destiny had other plans for the champion. Here's a report that tells you more about his journey. Take a look. India's Sumit Antil won gold medal in men's javelin throw F64 class at Paris Paralympics, becoming the first Indian male para-athlete to defend his title in the Paralympic Games. The 26-year-old Indian para-athlete achieved this feat with a new Paralympics record of 70.59 meters at Stade de France. Incredibly, Sumit got the better of the previous Paralympic record set by him to win the gold medal at Tokyo 2020 Paralympics. Taking to social media platform, President of India Draupadi Murmu congratulated the champion on his success. She said, "I convey my heartiest congratulations to Sumit Antil on winning the gold medal in men's javelin throw event at Paris 2024 Paralympics. With his 2 successive Paralympics gold medals and record-setting performances, Sumit has gained a special standing among the champions. His outstanding achievements will inspire countless people, especially the youth." Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulated Sumit, praising him for his consistent performance. He said, "Exceptional performance by Sumit. Congratulations to him for winning the gold in men's javelin F64 event. He has shown outstanding consistency and excellence. Best wishes for his upcoming endeavours. #Cheer for Bharat." Sumit Antil was born on June 7 in the year 1988 and comes from the state of Haryana. He hails from a middle-class family and his father was a junior warrant officer in the Indian Air Force. Sumit Antil wanted to be a wrestler and idolized Yogeshwar Dutt, who won a bronze medal at London Olympics. However, an accident changed his life that took place in the year 2015. Even after the accident, he did not give up sports and continued on his path with grit and determination. Sumit now stands at the podium decked with glorious multiple Paralympics event and medals, a feat achieved by none in para-javelin across India. Sports Desk, DD India. Talking about Day 6, Indian para-archers and shooters will be in action on Day 6 of Paris Paralympics. Para-archer Pooja will be in action in women's individual recurve elimination round. She will be playing her further rounds today only if she qualifies at the qualification round. Meanwhile, Mona Agrawal along with Avani Lekra, round 8 will be in action in women's 50-meter rifle 3 positions SH1 shooting event. In men's high jump T63 final, Mariyappan Thangavelu, Sharath Kumar and Shailesh Kumar will be in action later in the night as per Indian Standard Time. On to the US Open now. Iga Swiatek swept past Lyudmila Samsonova by 6-4 and 6-1 to make it to the quarterfinal round of the US Open as the top seed continued her flawless run through the Flushing Meadows draw. Swiatek is now the only former women's champion still standing, and in her 100th Grand Slam match, the 23-year-old lost only 4 points on her first serve. Meanwhile, 5th seed Daniil Medvedev brushed aside unseeded Nuno Borges by 6-0, 6-1, 6-3 to advance to the quarterfinal round, open with an utterly dominant display. Medvedev will be up against world number 1 Yannick Sinner in the quarterfinal clash on Wednesday evening. So that was a quick wrap from the world of sports. Back to you.
Thank you, Deepika. And before we close, in North Korea, children perform a show titled We Are Happy in Pyongyang. The show was designed to convey a sense of national pride and joy, highlighting the innocence and happiness of North Korean youth. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of DD India News Hub. You can get all the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app. It's available on Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download it. And let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. You can also check out our website ddindia.co.in. We will be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran, all of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.